once we shut down, hopefully September, mid-September it's looking like. So that's all I had, unless you all have any questions.
On the first thing you're talking about the return flow, are we seeing an increase in volume every year, right?
Well,
It's gotta be.
because of the more water that's utilized in the city, but
Right.
keep in mind that we only get a certain percentage of that water, because another percent goes into the Rio Bosque under the agreement that we signed with El Paso Water, but there has been an increase. And like I say, Robert will give you a report on it, but he was quite surprised that he was able to get 5,000 acres out of the way. Now he can concentrate, he's concentrating right now on all those cotton farmers that are needing to wet their lands and to go in with cotton.
Pecan farmers too.
Yeah. And then the pecan farmers are, anxiously waiting also.
Is it always released? I mean, is it always available to the farmers at the same time, Robert? Or?
Well, in different sections, because of the projects that we have going on, there's some areas like 8A and 9A, those farmers couldn't get any water through the Franklin this year because we were working on the riverside and working on the Franklin feeder and so on. Next year it'll be the same thing, but we'll step it up. We want to go into the Franklin feeder and finish that area. It's, I think, what, about a mile, Pete?
Yes, sir.
Length
Little
we
over a
need
mile,
to do.
yes.
The Franklin feeder is a little bit more smaller than the riverside was. So it'll take hopefully less dirt work.
I guess that's a good thing.
And what about the update on the ponding?
We're awaiting, we're about a couple of weeks from hearing if we applied for that $10 million grant on the Socorro ponds.
Right.
And we're waiting to hear back on if we were successful on that application.
Going back to the lining of all the artery canals, of the 100%, more or less, where are we on lining? 10%? 20%?
Well,
More or less?
we haven't really done a percentage. I would say roughly we're about 18, close to 20% of concrete lining. I know we've done, Al was looking at it, 16 miles, I think, in the last few years of canal lining.
We had a
We
projection.
started in the 70s. We don't look at it as percentage of the system because we look at it at the sections of the canal that lose the most water. So we're sort of the low-hanging fruit approach as we're doing. So as we go through the 5-year plan and update the plan, we add new sections that are now the highest priority. We can go back and pull all that, but I'm sure in terms of the major seepage, we're about 80%. We've reduced, Jimmy, right? I mean, we've had, since we finished up the riverside, have gotten, in the island, we'll have gotten the really big ones taken care of.
And we've taken care of a much smaller one, like the Isla, but it was of great concern because there was a shopping center right next to our canal that we were always worried we'd have a ditch break or something and flood a bunch of businesses. Or there's a lot of homes on both sides of that canal. We were recently just awarded another grant by the USBR, by the Bureau of Reclamation, and we'll be doing another section of the Isla. And so right now on the Isla, I think I'd say we're about what, 50%?
At least. At least, yes.
Maybe a little more,
A little more.
of the whole canal. And I'm talking, this starts way close to
The ski club?
Old Waco Tank Road.
Actually, by the ski club, by Navas.
Yeah, where the ski club is on Alameda, and works its way down to Old Waco Tanks Road, and then comes down almost following North Loop. So we've done a little bit more than 50% of it. But we've gotten the areas, well, we lack one area that we have residents on both, but we'll get to that hopefully this coming next year.
Next year.
With this grant that we just got.
And the maintenance goes down drastically?
Yeah, drastically.
Mowing, yes.
Yeah, it's no more mowing inside, get rid of weeds and all that. We still have other little issues, but something that Pete and his crew can take care of very easily. We have boulders that roll down. I guess on the riverside below Partidor, he just pulled out about, it must have been what, 200 boulders, I
Yes, quite a
guess?
bit, yes.
Anything from a small 10-pounder to maybe a large 75-pound boulder. But the reason we want to take those out is because they'll eventually roll and hit your head gates and cause damage there. So there's little issues like that, but the main issue of having to go in there and mow every other week or something goes away once you concrete line. And of course, the water delivery system becomes more efficient for the farmer.
Right.
Yeah.
On the 5-year plan, Al, of the 5-year plan, is that the low-hanging fruit or is that all the canals? We talked about the 5-year plan a while back, and I was just curious, that's question number one. The other one is, where do we fall in relation to our projections? Are we on track or ahead of track or behind our track?
You're muted.
You're muted out.
Sorry, we're ahead of plan on the 5-year track, because of, this year we've had so much time and because of the drought, we've had more time to work than we normally would have. So that's a good thing. Some of the projects, we delayed because of grant issues, so that we obviously wanted to maximize the amount of money, so we have to move things around between the year. Each time we go through it, each year we change their priorities and update it. So we can set up at the next board meeting if you want. We can give you a summary of I think we're really in our 8th year of the 5-year plans, right, Judy?
Yes.
Right.
And we can show you how we save them each year. We can show you how they change and how they get updated and all the projects that have been completed. And all the money that's grant and all the money that is, I think Omar has a sheet that shows, I had him prepare one that shows how much money we brought in, I don't know, since we went way back to the Partidor project, I think, Chewy, on that sheet. So we started, what was the year was that, 2010
That was
or something?
Right.
9.
Partidor was 9.
I just want to be able to process and comprehend the enormous amount of effort that we as a district, all parties have done, and the money that's spent so I can grasp. And when I'm talking to somebody, I can intelligently tell them, this is what has happened in the last 8 years, and this is what's happening with the district, the good things that are happening. So I can toot our horn. And also, I don't know if this is something Omar does, but it'd be nice to find I always go back to dollars from no lining to some lining to 100% lining. What is the trend on efficiency and cost that we're saving every year? I don't know if that's something we can figure out now, but I'm thinking that that's something that you guys are contemplated or looked at during the application for the grants and so forth. Is that something that you guys can do or have done, Al?
Well, the last time we did a pro forma was for the NAD Bank, I think, Chewy, and
Yes.
they're the only ones that require reclamation, and water development don't require pro formas anymore, for whatever reasons. They're usually so speculative you don't really know, because some of the things, our benefits are clearly not tangible, and the amount of money we'd have to hire a full-time economist to try to figure them out. But I do keep track of the money and convert it to present dollar value. I think we're up to about 70 million in present value of actual constructed. I'd have to go back and look and see how much of that is grant, but I know a sizable portion of it, at least half of it or more, is grant, right, Chewy?
Yes.
Some things we got 100% pay for, like Wasteway 1 was 100%. We didn't pay that. I think Partidor was 100%, wasn't it?
Almost. I think it was 85%, something
like that. Yeah. So we've done really well, and some of these grants we're using, since we use what's a force account, or we use in-house labor for it. That'd be up to Mary to break out how that. I know that Pete submits. Typically, we use Corps of Engineers or FEMA rate tables if we have to get any reimbursement on it, but obviously our cost is less than those rate tables because there's all sorts of overhead built into those tables. So in the end, by using our own people, plus these are people that have, you know, they switch jobs. In the summer they're irrigators, in the winter they're, so, you know, if we didn't have that ability to switch them, then we'd have all sorts of other labor issues and staffing problems. So it's really hard to put a dollar amount on some of those things. They're incredibly, such as ability to switch your labor from one job to the other job, and has a value that you just can't estimate by the dollar, but we know that it's extremely valuable to us to not lose employees or have to lay people off seasonally. Our business wouldn't work like the retail business does, or Amazon, where you gear up during the one season and let everybody go during the off season. We try to keep same number of employees year round, right, Chicky?
Yes. And just
We'll be glad to set up we've got the dollar numbers in that 5 years stuff, so we'd be glad to set that up and make a presentation or have a workshop. We don't necessarily have to have a board meeting. We can just have a workshop that's open to.
I'd love to see that. Whenever it's convenient and you guys can put it together, it would be great to I think it's valuable for all the board members to know where our money's going and how the production is happening and what good things we're doing as a district. And on specific numbers. I mean, I'm not asking you to get a scientist from New York City to come analyze it. I'm just talking in round general numbers, what you're conservative feel about.
The other day we had an incident with PowerPoint, remember? And that was one of the greatest things ever. All the farmers talked really highly about it.
they liked it.
They liked it.
You know, and tomorrow we're doing another one on the riverside and the other projects that we're working on, just so they know
I think with a PowerPoint like that, it
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And just so the board knows, there's rumored that earmarks are coming back through Congress, and we're on top of it. We've had a meeting with Congresswoman Escobar and her staff, and Omar's working on a grant application through her, and then we're also working with the congressman for the 26th district. Omar's submitting a grant application through him also, because part of our district is in 26 and part of it is in 16, so we're having to work with both congressmen, which is good, and we've had a lot of support and help from Commissioner Ileana Holguin with Congressman Hernandez, I think is his last name, from the 26th district. So we're working on that. We're staying on top of grant applications, and unfortunately we just lost our commissioner from the Texas Water Development Board. The governor has appointed him to be the commissioner of the PUC, and very smart man, Peter Lake. We're going to greatly miss him because he's come down here to visit with me twice, and I took him on a tour, showed him some of the projects that they funded for us through Texas Water Development Board, and he uses a lot of the material that I gave him, pictures and video on our projects. He uses them for presentations when they meet with Texas Water Development Board and other applicants. But I'm hoping that maybe the governor will appoint Kathleen Jackson as the new commissioner. We also have a great working relationship with her. Yeah, it was a great loss to Texas Water Development Board, but a great gain for the PUC with all the problems they've just had with electricity. And the governor has great trust in Peter Lake because he appointed him as chairman right away of the PUC.
And we're in the 16th district, the next one over you're talking about?
Yes, the 26th.
26th?
Yeah, it's the one that comes all the way from San Antonio to here.
Big one.
It's a big district, but a very important one. And that's held by a Republican. It's like the 16th is held by a Democrat.
Yeah. Can't read this one too good. I thought it said 23. It's 26.
26.
Okay.
You got that deal on that,
Yeah, so just wanted to brief you all on items can see, Lower Valley Water District has 3 areas that they're going to dewater. They came in and requested a meeting with us. Robert J., Pete, Lisa, and myself met with them, and they're going to dewater quite a bit in those 3 different sections, and they're requesting going with water into our Salitral canal, which will give us, more water into the Fabens, Tornillo area for farmers to utilize, because they're going to dewater quite a bit for about 2 to 3 months, they said. So anyway, I'm working with them, but I wanted you all to know what was going on with those 3 sections and why it's so important. And they're also working on a lift station where they want to go with the sewer treated water into one of our drains that eventually will work its way into the Tornillo
Waste channel.
waste channel,
Yeah.
into the waste channel, and then can be utilized also as for irrigation
Well, the
purposes.
best place is they got to go to Central with it, and then you can utilize it.
This is,
All the water we can get, Robert.
yeah, this is real
Kind of
important.
shitty,
I haven't,
but good
I
water.
wanted, Al's gonna come in this evening, and we're gonna meet with him, because this is important, because there's also, some of this water will work its way into the drains and into Hutzpeth County. So I want to make sure that Al's aware of it and our attorneys are aware of it, because we're always getting criticized that water goes down out the tail end into the next county, but these are things that are important to us. We can use some of this water, but some of that drain water will work its way out into the next county. Not that we're purposely trying to do that, but just so you all are aware that it will happen, and we might get, criticized, but that is water that's being dewatered by another entity. And then the last item, I'd like to move it into the close, because it has to do with an offer that we got on some land on the drain. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? No? Thank you. Now, district engineer report. Al?
Sure. I'm going to start off with the sort of a quick overview of what we're going to give to the public tomorrow. So let me share my screen. You guys see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So, most of you guys have seen this before. It's every year, it's pretty much the same process. We really just look at the water and storage, and that's the only way that we allocate. But when we were trying to see what's going to happen for the year, we looked at the snowpack and the watershed also to see where we may be at the end of the year, or here even by June and July on setting it up. So right now the project storage, as you guys know, is extremely low. Snowpacks, so we've already started melting the snowpack, so it's below normal. It's not as terrible as it has been before, but it is pretty bad. Watershed conditions are exceptionally dry. That's sort of new compared to some previous times we had with this. And here we are, in mid-April, so we can, this is just the beginning of any reliable estimates, or kind of the numbers we're getting right now. The first thing we look at is inflow to the Elephant Butte. Right now, for the last, this calculation is a little difficult to make based on the measurements Reclamation provides. There's a lot of noise in the measurements. But we're leveled off at about 1,000 acre feet today. We're going to see that actually drop significantly as the upstream water users start taking the water out of the system. They've already started, I'll show you that. This is the satellite analysis of the snowpack. Our watershed is this one here. So I compared it to where we were in 2013 because this year appears to be pretty close to a reenactment of 2013, which was a bad year for us. You see in 2013 at this time you actually saw better low elevation snow, this light colored where it says a trace, which is showing that there was moisture and snow down at low elevations. This year the satellite's not picking up any of that. It's saying that it's dry. No snows. The snow's already melted in the last 2 weeks. We're seeing some of that low elevation snow about to come off. But in general, the snowpacks look about the same between the 2 years, about the same amount of water. So that doesn't bode well for us. Here's a graph compared to last year. The dotted line is what you'd expect for the average snowfall. The solid line below that is what actually happened. Last year, it started melting about a little bit earlier than this year even. So, and it was very poor years. You know, that's why we have such limited storage. You may say that there's quite a bit of water under the curve of this thing of the snow, but in reality, most of our water comes from, if this line, the solid line is above the dotted line. To the right of that's what's going on this year. So this is just one station out of about 60 stations we look at, but this one's the easiest one to explain. So you can see up here at the top, the snow's already starting to melt. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Here's a comparison of average of those 60 SNOTEL measurement stations showing where we are in the 3 primary watersheds. So it's not very good. The snow running off for us to really get a lot of water. This thing's got to be all the way full or over full. So it's got to be above the average, and then that's because everybody upstream takes their share before we get ours. And so this is a complicated diagram. It's a vector diagram that we use to see where we are in historical perspective. And so we were right on the line here on March 28th, a little bit above it. All this area that you see up here at the top, everything above it, that's where we want to be. Those are our good years. All this stuff down here at the bottoms are bad years. So we're sort of in the middle, but the curve, the vectors are showing that we're going to start diving off pretty quick here. In fact, very quickly. So we're probably going to be in, even though we're high, at least normal on some of the averages, or 70% of normal, it's going to, because of the hot temperatures forecasted, we're going to end up in a fairly poor situation. So a little bit different. 2013, we had better watershed conditions, and we still had a major drought. This year we have terrible watershed conditions, very dry. So as the water makes it from Colorado, northern New Mexico to us, it's got to go through the sponge. We don't have any ability to predict accurately the total amount of runoff until sometime in July. So if you see these black lines, they're showing you that that's when the runoff's pretty much complete. And some of these other lines have to do with floods, with rainfall and summer and other things. But in general, we won't know how much water we have to release until sometime in July. The NRCS forecast is that the average is 168,000 acre feet will flow into San Marcial. I think that's a reasonable forecast, but right now people are nervous that that's too high. As you can see, we would expect in this time period to be closer to 450,000, and so we're below half of what we normally expect. Right now, these are the gauges this morning. So the snowmelt started in Colorado and New Mexico and Colorado. Ottawa is a critical gauge north of Albuquerque up near Santa Fe. It's up to about 1530. Cochiti, which is a regulating, so they let the water flow into Cochiti and then they set the gates, so they're slowing it down at Cochiti. We wish they would not slow it down, but they do. Cochiti is just a flood storage and regulating reservoir, so they can't stop it. All they can do is slow it down. And then in between Cochiti, that's north of Albuquerque, and Santa Acacia down by Socorro, north of Socorro, the river and mainly the irrigation district is using 700 CFS. And then they have irrigation below that. As you guys know, in Socorro, there's irrigation, and they pretty much grab another 200. And by the time it gets to us, and this just happened, this all just happened within the last 2 weeks. And so that's going to make my inflow curve to the river almost go to zero to the Elephant Butte. Here's looking again at that. You can see that the snow started to melt about the last day of March, maybe the 30th of March, and that's premature. This curve here is the one that's above that is the long-term average. So normally you don't see the snow melt start for about another month. So we're about 30 days early, and we've been seeing that for the last 10 years. Almost consistently that our snow melt starting earlier in the season. The runoff is starting. This is at Del Norte, which is up north, right near the state line, county, Colorado, New Mexico line. So they're actually above average on the runoff coming out of Colorado because of the early melt, and it's going up. So that's a good sign. The next one is the bad sign. If you look at a gauge downstream of that. So we start off with our water above average coming in from Colorado, so there's quite a bit of water coming in, and even by the time they get to Budo, New Mexico's already started taking a lot of the water. And so we're seeing, it's a strange deal, we're actually seeing it decreasing there, it shouldn't be increasing, so hopefully that'll change within the next week or two. So that doesn't bode well. And if we take it down to Ottawa, which is the compact gauge, we do see that they've started to release more water out of the reservoirs, Chewy, out of Abacu and Vado. And so they did step it up a day or two ago for some reason, which is good. I'm glad they did. They were holding it back. And they aren't allowed to hold it back because we're so short of water. So, but again, we're below the dotted line. We should be above the dotted line, showing because of the early snow melt. On doing that, hopefully within the next week or two we'll get above that dotted line. Bottom line is right now there's 246,000 acre feet in the reservoir. Reclamation thinks that they can't get 15,000 acre feet out. They want, I think under objection of Phil and me, they want 7,000 acre feet for archaeological protection. We don't think the project's authorized for that. If they want to protect our archaeological sites, they do that by inventorying them and fencing them or whatever they want to do, but they don't use our water as for a secondary thing. But I don't know if we've got any resolution. I guess we'll find out at the end, Chewy, right, when we ask them to release that water, whether they'll release it or not, right?
Right.
I mean, right now they can use it for that. It doesn't make any difference. But once we get to the end of the year, we'll probably, if we call for that water, we'll see. There's a reserve for evaporation in case we don't get any rainfalls or monsoon events. So hopefully we'll get that water back. So hopefully the 7 and the 5 will get back. The 15 is more of a physical deal. It's just, you just can't get that water out of Elephant Butte, and there's a fish kill issue. So all that, and bottom line is we're going to have right now, if I had to, we haven't made an allocation, but if they did, it'd be about 97,000 for us. That gives us a foot. And, you know, just like I said, so we're looking at our target date right now would be to shut off on July 25th. Nothing's changed much. That's the same thing I presented last month, except for the numbers have changed a little. We take that 97,000 and go to another spreadsheet that has a bunch of calculations in it for our wells, sewage effluent, and river losses, and other things. And right now, the 1 foot's conservative. In other words, if we had to make the allocation, you know, that would be very conservative. There won't be any trouble being able to deliver 1 foot. 3 small tracks, but I'm pretty sure that just in the next, you know, before we have to make the allocation next month, that we'll be able to go to at least 15 inches and hopefully to 18 inches. Because some of the unknowns, Chewy will talk to Mexico. I'm pretty sure, you know, EPCWID is supposed to come on with us. That'll free up some of this upper valley lost water. because we'll share that with everybody instead of having to pay for it. And what's your indication, Chief, right now in Mexico? Do they look like they're gonna come on with those?
Yes, they are. They've Robert and I had a Zoom meeting with them and with IBWC and the USBR, and they're anxiously waiting. But they're going to start taking their water as soon as it's in the El Paso vicinity. So they.
I think that I calculated their number's about 8,000 acre feet right now, so hopefully that's enough to get them to come on board. So we just keep updating these tables, and I'm optimistic that one more month, give me one more month, and we'll see if some of those curves go up. And if we know that they're going to go on, I can release some water that is being held over here. This water over here is held for river losses at the end of the year, which we will probably be the only ones on the river towards the end of August. So there'll be some additional losses, but this 20,000 acre feet up here, hopefully I can release that, and we won't be on by ourselves. That would be enough there. What do you probably have to talk to Robert and run through the numbers? They're probably enough for another, at least, like I said, 3 inches, but hopefully another 6 inches. And that would give one more irrigation for the small tracks. So it'd be four irrigations for small tracks and 1.5 acre feet for the farmers. Does that sound about right, Robert?
Well, at 18 inches, isn't it about 3 watering for farmers, small tracks?
3's 11, it's 2.5 is what it calculates out at right now, so I rounded it up. I didn't know what to do.
The less the better.
But we're going to schedule 4.
Well, you don't have the water for 4 right now, but I guess I'm predicting that you'll have the water for 4, real quick here. If you guys confirm, I mean, I can change this number today and send it to you where we can utilize that 20,000 acre feet if you want me to.
Okay.
If you're certain that we're not going to be on the river by ourselves.
Right. Mexico has they've committed to take their water as soon as it arrives in the El Paso vicinity. Yeah.
Okay.
They're looking at to be on there for about 30 days out.
Okay, yeah, that's what I estimated, it'd be on 30, and then I did 24 days of us at paying for the losses at the end of the year. So I can let me run the new one real quick. So if I take that out, if I zero that out, then I put that at, you want 4?
And then,
We'll put that
why don't you
at,
bring down the daily release of 800 to 600? That 800 is pretty high.
that's just showing you what's there to do on those days. So that means you can run you'll run longer days. You'll run longer.
But I think
That's how
800 to release, we don't even do it in a good water year. And
yeah, so we can run it out instead of the 25th. You might be able to go to. I'll have to correct that calculation, but.
The 15th of August.
I was thinking more like go with 500 to release and then make up the rest with the wells and see how far that takes us.
Yeah, I've got the well kicked in at full capacity. So at 773, we went 15 days, and we went 15 days more, so that's closer to Robert's 800 on doing it. So that maybe it's closer to the 12th of August that we can make it. 1.8. Yeah, we can go, if you're just taking that out with what we have, we get that done, then we can go with 18 inches Chewy and 4 irrigations.
Okay.
So we got the water to do that right now. And then that's still got a reserve of 9,500 for the end of the year. So I did a river loss of 200 CFS, Robert. But anyways, it doesn't look like it's going to be too much better than that, but you never keep our fingers crossed that we'll get some of this, some of the melt that's just started, and we should see that within 2 weeks. We should start seeing whether it's going to make it to us or not in about 2 weeks. So any questions on that? We had on the agenda some Rio Grande Allocation Committee work that we're doing on some technical memorandums that were in your packet. But because both of the members of the Water Rights Executive Committee we're not able to attend at the board meeting today, we propose to schedule a special meeting. And I'm sure you haven't had a chance to talk to the board member. This all happened right at the beginning. The proposed date would be on Monday. We haven't set a time, but it would be, you could do it by Zoom or telephone or in person. We'll have it there at the district. And so we won't, I'm proposing that the rest of the items that are in our mind, that we table those until the next special meeting, whatever day that may occur. We need to do it in the next week or two, I think, sometime there.
Okay, so I'll have Sharon call all the board members and discuss either the 19th or the 20th, and make sure you include Maria and the lawyers, Sharon.
Okay.
Checking with them.
Yeah, I checked with Renee. He's good for Monday. Johnny's good for Monday. I didn't call Art.
Okay.
But I'm good for Monday, so we'll just, if the rest of the board members can make Monday, then we'll do it Monday afternoon probably. Sorry about that, just, it's a pretty critical issue. We wanted to have the entire board there to discuss. Because it's, once we make the approval, it's
The
permanent.
19th?
The 19th,
It's coming Monday, right?
Does that work for you, Drew?
No, I can't be here Monday.
No? Can you do Tuesday?
No.
No?
No. And the next one, the 26th, is the Monday after that. That's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there'll be a quorum without me.
Okay,
Yes.
and we can give you a briefing.
Yeah, I might can Zoom, but you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it's
we
on
are.
Zoom.
I'll
Yeah.
be, I probably won't come back
Okay.
now for probably Zooming.
Yeah, we can do a Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
So
Because
when are you
Marie-
going to have a meeting?
Because Maria and Renee will be on Zoom.
You can make it right
19th?
Yeah,
Monday. That's Monday.
What time?
I'll probably zoom in.
Don't know yet, Jim, we'll figure it out after.
Just tell me the time and I'll be there. Yes, I will.
Okay, we'll get with you all. Sharon will get with you all
Okay.
on time.
Is that all, Al?
That's it, unless you got any questions, or you know how to make it rain.
Someone can dance. Al, can you put the prior screen up real quick? The one,
Excuse me?
can you put up the prior screen?
The prior?
Yeah. The screen before that one? Or the slide before that one?
Okay, well,
No, one on the bottom left, the estimated allotment. That one.
Oh,
That one. Yeah,
that one?
this will help. My memory's not that good, but this sure helps. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So.
That one's at the 20,000, I think we're gonna release that 20,000, what Chewy said, told us, Mexico coming on board with us, so that the new one will be this one right here with that 20,000 distributed. We can send you guys a copy of this, I'll give you a copy of it, and Sharon can get it to you.
Okay, let's move on. Pete?
Yeah, we know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Good morning.
Pete.
Will you let me share?
Yeah, let me stop.
Okay.
You should be good.
Okay, just kind of briefly before, while Jay gets this ready, right now we've got 3 mowers out there, basically just mowing anything that runs could be put in water. Right now we're concentrating on the Sanelli, the 154, and
136.
the 136. Those are, I'm coordinating with Robert as he's scheduling his irrigations for these certain ditches. I go in there and mow them, and until I can get my full crew back. Okay, so be a little patient, we're a little slow right now, but we will catch up. Right now, we are working in 5R in a project that he has paid for, or will be paying for. He has requested to lower his turnout. which in turn will be to our benefit also, because I believe on check 15, we're having problems with the head wall there where it silts up. So we're lowering his turnout, also a pipe that he paid for years back that goes under the tornillo. He's redoing his ditch all on the north side of the tornillo. He's lowering all his ditch and redoing the whole ditch. So we're having to redo the pipe that goes under the tornillo. We're lowering it about a foot and a half. So he can pass well water from one end to the other. Okay, so we got that going on also right now. I've got two guys over there. Plus, we're also replacing a culvert and a community ditch or a private ditch that goes over the island drain over by Hole in the Wall. So we got those three little projects going on, other than the other major projects that are going on as far as the Riverside, Montoya, and the island drain, or the island main, sorry. Here's a little bit of work that we did at Bustamante, at the, Bustamante, the old water treatment plant, in Socorro Ponds. We've gone in there and tried to clean up the area that was purchased. And I'll run through this pretty quick. There you'll see the Franklin feeder on the right-hand side of the screen, and then the Socorro Pond on the left. So we've cleared all the 300 some odd acres around this area. Here is the Riverside. This is towards last month's, when we're still working on the Riverside before we turn it over to Robert. And kind of what goes into it for the shotcrete. So the prep work and liner. That's the patio you see right there at the top of the screen. Shotcrete. And there it's completed, removing the bancos from the heading to bring water in. And then this is just right below where we started. This is the section that Mr. Reyes was talking about. This is the Riverside below. This is the additional 2,500 feet that we're working on right now. Right now we've got 1,000 feet ready to go, ready to be shot, and we're working on the other 1,500 feet. We're doing the dirt work and so on and so forth. So hopefully we'll be done with that by the time we're done with the shotcrete on the 1,000 feet upstream there. That's kind of what it looked like before we got started. We actually got a right bank now. We can actually travel that right bank, when before we couldn't even get through there with a pickup. Now you can see I've got an excavator there. We're running the dump trucks on that right side. And that's the work we started on Monday. They're laying liner, they're laying panels already. So by Monday we should be able to start shooting shotcrete here in this area. This is the island main. And that's the sand pit that goes down there on the island main. That's you probably know about there.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of sand that we had to move. We also had to narrow the channel. We went down to an 8-foot channel. And we'll start shotcrete here on Monday also. On the island main, we still got about 2,500 feet of dirt work that we have to do before we accomplish our goal to shotcrete all the way to the 154. And then we're coming across some little obstacles that I don't know why they were done that way, but we actually have a check between the start point and the end point that's actually lower than both points. So you can now kind of go dips down and dips back up. So we're fixing that as we go. There's the island main that's been completed. That's what it looks like before the liner goes in. We had a farmer that paid for a crossing. That's also on the island main, so we're taking advantage of it and we're making the crossing for him. He did pay for this crossing. So all material did come out of his funds. And then this is a project on the railroad that we've been having problems. As you can see, all the sand accumulation that we've gotten in this area here. This portion was actually shotcreted 2 years ago. And we've got about probably a good 5 feet of sand that's accumulated there because of that crossing right there. So, Chewy, Al, and Jay have worked with the railroad to remove this crossing and redo it to improve it. So right now we're demolishing this crossing here. We're gonna go and shotcrete the area, and then I believe railroad will come back at a later time and put their tracks back in.
Where's the, what's the?
This is, that bridge that you see right back there, that's right there it's on Paisano, right before you get to Cotton. So it's right by Delta, right, I would say, south of Bowie High School.
Right next to the projects there, where San Antonio Street ends.
So we've got, I think it's two sets of tracks that go over the Franklin Canal here. It's actually 3 different crossings. This is the very first crossing just below Delta. And here you can see where we've already taken down all the chain link fence and started cleaning up to remove that culvert.